Hello YouTube viewers, and welcome to another video that I have for Windows Sprocket. And today we're working on this Bluegrass bike, and it is a classic 1970s style 3-speed. And what I'm doing actually is I'm going to remove this crank and basically clean up the gears and the bearings. The bearings are kind of a little stiff. So it needs to just be adjusted and repacked. The bearings need to be repacked. And just as well as reviewed, make sure that the bearings are clean and the races and all that good stuff, so make sure all the cups are good. So that's my plan. Okay, to start with, I'm going to describe a little bit how this is constructed. Basically what it is it has a single steel tube that is what's considered the bottom bracket. That's actually the piece of the frame itself. And then what they have are the two bearing cups that are actually pressed into that, and that's what accommodates the inside of the bearings themselves. And those cups then obviously have the two races, or the two bearing races on the inside with the bearings, and basically they're held by the bearings on the inside on either side of the two cups. And then on the outside of that you have then this bearing raise on this side. There's one on the opposite side where the cogs are, where the actual plate is, and then those are all compressed together, and that's what allows the rotation on the inside. And this crank arm here is actually connected to the other side, comes out the other side, so it's one. That's why it's called a one-piece crank, because it's all one forged piece of steel, as opposed to today where most bikes or higher end bikes will have what's called a 3-piece, where it has a single axle and then it has the crank arms, which are usually bolted on or something like that. And there's different configurations, but at least this is the way that they were made back in the 70s. So what I'll do is I'm going to take out this lock nut here, and this lock nut is actually a left-handed thread. So I'll pull this off and then take out there's a little bit of a washer here to hold them together, the two in place. And then you take out the bearing race on the inside, and this will all come off. So I'll have to take off the pedal first to be able to take these off, and then once that comes out, then I'll be able to rotate this out and take a look and see what it looks like on the inside and see why this is so stiff.
As you can see, it took quite some time for me to get this pedal off from the years of being stuck and rusted on this crank arm, but I did eventually get it off. So I went ahead and removed the crank, taking out the left bearing, and just a quick inspection that I could see that it was definitely caked with some grease, but thick grease and not the grease that I wanted. And went ahead and struggled a little bit to get the bike out from underneath the chain protector, but once I did, I had to orient it correctly to get it out of the actual bike. So here I'm cleaning the bearing cups and removing all the caked on grease as well here, and struggled quite a bit, but it did eventually get it all off, and then went ahead and did a visual inspection with a nice strong LED flashlight to confirm that the cups were not chewed up and or bad in any way, and also that I cleaned up as best I possibly could.
So this is looking really nice, very clean, no scores or scratches to notice at all. The cups are really clean, so at least from this perspective, it looks really good. Same, there is a little bit of wear here on this side, if you can see it here, a little bit of wear, but again, that's to be noticed and expected for something like this. So looking really good. Okay, so now that I have the pedal off, there's a lot of play in there. I'm probably gonna have to repack this as well, but for the time being, I'm just gonna leave this on the side and just concentrate more on the actual crank itself. So the bearing race on the non-drive side is waxy, strangely enough. Seems like they put wax in here instead of oil, or grease, sorry, instead of using grease. And this does seem to be not too bad. Again, I'm looking at the surface where it contacts with the bearings. I'm not seeing it pitted. It's a little worn, just obviously from use, no doubt, but doesn't look too bad. So this is and of course now I'm looking at the actual crank itself, and again the same thing for the bearing race on the drive side. Doesn't seem to be too bad. Bearings look good, just a little dry. So I think that either somebody decided to go with a wax-based lubricant instead of using something like a just greasing them and packing with grease. And it very well may be that this was me doing it some time back, where I put some lithium grease on here, and because I can see it on the inside of the crank itself, and that's the chainring. So regardless, I think that again with some cleaning, this should come out really nice, and just because I can see that this lithium grease does seem to dry out, which is not what I was expecting. I wanted to make sure that this is something, and it's okay, I guess, but I'm seeing that the individual bearings are actually dry, and therefore I would assume that this is caking too much and not allowing free flow or free rotation of the cranks. So the crank arm, I should say, the crank itself. So anyway, but the lock ring looks good. Of course, that's usually not a problem, as well as my lock ring. This is fine. So again, I'm just looking at what I'm seeing here. It does seem to fit within what I would expect for this era of bike. And let me just go ahead and clean it up and get it back together and see how well it rotates. Okay, so I finished the reinstall and obviously had it all put back together again. Single piece cranks actually really a breeze to use. They're really easy to assemble. They're relatively indestructible because again it's all hardened steel. Very heavy, of course, which of course that is not what people in bikes look for today. They always want a very lightweight. So there's lots of aluminum that's used or other light alloy type differentials. But steel is still king as far as durability, some ductability. I mean, so there's some different properties that are very nice. Obviously, it does rust, so that's why they usually chromed things back in the day. And I'm sure I'll take out. There's a little bit of light rusting on the inside of the crank arm, as well as this one too. There's just some light rusting. So I'll take that off with a little bit of steel wool. But now this thing rotates just like I would expect it to rotate. There is no problem with it rotating, and as long as I keep the fender from making a bunch of noise, then you can see it's also, there's no wobble to it either. There's no play with it. So again, very easy to assemble. It was pretty easy to disassemble. Obviously you can see it, me disassemble it, and to clean them up, grease it again, put it back together, and this thing will last for who knows how many more years more of use until this can be done all over again. Again, that's the beautiful thing. As long as it does not get a lot of dirt and sand and grime in there and ruin the bearings or the bearing races or the cups or anything like that, as long as that doesn't happen, this thing will continue to run for forever. I mean, obviously this bike's already 50 years old now, and it's still, I mean, it's still very rideable, just like as if it were brand new right off the showroom floor. So, as always, subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, and tell me what you think of this. And of course, I'm always open for suggestions for what the next video will be. And I definitely want to cater to my subscribers in answering their questions and being able to create new content that will hopefully help you as you are investigating this big world of bikes that are not very commonly worked on. But again, that's my fun and my passion, so I'll do it for you so I can pass and relay on the information to you. Thanks until the next video.